Hi, I'm Papa Joe. Thank you very much for joining me to read today. One of the two books that I would take with me if I were being sent off to a desert island and I could only take two children's books would be this book, Oliviatown, written by Alan Levy and illustrated by Gary Pound. I just love this story. It's about a beautiful, creative young girl and her imagination. And there's a lovely understory in here where you can tell if you pay attention when Olivia's in the real world and when she's in Oliviatown, and see if you can see it. For a whole dreary week on Olivia Street, it had rained every night, every day. But now through her window, the sun with its warm glow was calling her outside to play. She ran down the stairs through the door in a rush with a bright shiny pail in her hand, till she stood near the street on her glad summer feet, and she sang as a new day began. Good morning, sidewalk. Good morning, sunshine. Hello, blue sky. You've been gone such a long time. It's a beautiful day for a visit with friends. It's so nice to be back here again. It's so nice to be here again. The pavement was broken, uncolored, and hard. It was lifeless and dreary and bare. But Olivia knew in an hour or two a wondrous new world would be there. She poured out the bucket all round her feet, soft colors spread on the ground, big pieces of chalk she would use on the walk, and adventure was sure to be found. She knelt by herself and she started to draw, and then in a very short time, a beautiful world began to unfurl from her colorful squiggles and lines. The new grass grew fast in Oliviatown. The flowers took minutes or less. The pavement, it seemed, went from winter to spring as she drew without taking a rest. There were songbirds and butterflies, big smiles and bright eyes, 'neath the skies that were sunny and blue. There were bugs and a pup, and some things she made up. When it's your world, that's okay to do. The bugs, rather oddly, were big as the dog, and the flowers were tall as she was. If you're curious why she had made them so high, she'd tell you, I'm sure, just because. Olivia drew lots of people she knew, first one and soon 5 and then 10. Though she'd started alone, now her circle was grown, till she knelt among colorful friends. The things she imagines, the dreams that she dreams, come to life in Oliviatown. In her colorful heart there are buckets of art, and worlds of wonder abound. And whose castle is this scepter, this gold? And just who is this richly dressed girl beneath the bright crown and the long flowing gown? Why, it's Princess Olivia, I guess. Just down from the castle in a bright yellow house, a crimson-haired angel resides. You'd quickly discover that the neighbors all love her, 'cause she lives with her door open wide. It's a beautiful world where her wishes come true, and Olivia drew, and she drew, and she drew. All the while that she worked, lots of people walked by, some dashing to get down the street. They were moving so fast, they just rushed right on past that whole wonderful, colorful world at their feet. They stepped on the flowers, the faces, the towers, to get where they needed to go. But Olivia's people just smiled the while, and her garden continued to grow. Some slowed to a stroll at Oliviatown, enjoying the gallery below. When they went on their way, I am happy to say, there was colorful dust on their toes. Yet other ones stopped at Oliviatown to admire the bright landscape they saw. Then at Lid's invitation, they chose a location and knelt around her to draw. You might like to know, when those children went home to their neighborhood streets, far and near, chalk towns like Murphytown, Lilytown, Theotown quickly began to appear. One lone passerby, most unusually shy, whose house was wherever he roamed, sat restfully down in this welcoming town, where he felt very clearly at home. Well, the sidewalk no longer was what it had been, colorless, broken, and hard. It was brilliant and bright, a most marvelous sight at the edge of Olivia's yard. Well, the shadows of evening were starting to fall, and the sun had sunk low in the sky. Though she'd gladly have stayed with the new friends she made, it was time now to tell them goodbye. And her fingers were dusty and her small legs were sore from kneeling so long on the ground. But she was pleasantly tired as she stood and admired that lovely Oliviatown. She gathered the pieces of chalk that remained, then left, in no hurry to go. Up the stairs, through the door, to her window once more, where she gazed at her village below. Good night, old sidewalk, and good night, warm sunshine. Sweet dreams, my good friends. I had such a good time. I promise tomorrow I'll hurry back down. Sweet dreams till sunrise, Oliviatown. Sweet dreams. But later that night, while Olivia slept, big clouds returned once again, and she awoke the next day to a sky dark and gray, and she knew what was about to begin. And she ran to the sidewalk for a final farewell to her friends in Oliviatown. They all smiled goodbye as she turned to the sky and watched as the raindrops fell down. The first raindrop splashed with a small cloud of dust on a face at Olivia's feet. Then it stood like a tear resting perfectly clear on that big, smiling, rose-tinted cheek. Soon a downpour was falling, and into the street her town melted, floating gently apart. The colors got muddled and the pastels all puddled, and it broke poor Olivia's heart. The faces, the flowers, the bugs, and the birds grew dim in the warm summer rain. They streaked and they smeared, then at last disappeared. Just the gray, empty sidewalk remained. Like the good friend she was, dear Olivia stayed till she stood in the rain all alone. She was thoroughly drenched from her head every inch. She was there when the last one was gone. And it rained. And it rained. And it rained. She watched at the door, and it seemed as before that the rainy days never would end. But the sky finally cleared, and a rainbow appeared on Olivia's street once again. So she ran down the stairs to the door in a rush, with a shiny pail in her hand, till she stood near the street on her glad summer feet, and she sang as the new day began. Good morning, sunshine. Good morning, sidewalk. Hello, blue sky. You've been gone such a long time. The rain chased away all my colorful friends, but soon they'll be back here again. Soon they'll be back here again. And that's the end until the sun comes out again. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.